Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Tom Christie in Ashland, Nebraska, in my studio, and I put this little video together painting Drake Wigeon's head when we launched this book, Creating a World Rig. All of the details of that are in the book, but I thought it might be helpful to those of you tackling a Drake Wigeon to have that video, and so I'm going to provide that here. If you would happen to want more detailed painting videos from start to finish, you can go to my website at tomchristieart.com, and I have those for sale there for various species. But this demonstration is free, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you and kind of show you some of the paints I use, the brushes I use, and a little demo of a portion of a Drake Wigeon. A Merry Christmas to everybody. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for participating in the event today. And I wanted to do a little bit of a painting demo for today's event. This is a Drake Wigeon that I've been working on, and you can see I have the body pretty well done, and down to the head, which I normally do last. And I'm going to mask this off and begin to work on this eye patch area and try to represent the iridescence that is on a Drake Wigeon's head. This is a bird I did a while ago now. And all of the techniques that I'll be demonstrating today on the head will be step by step in the book, including the color reference chart, which is really handy. I'm using this myself, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I go to paint a Drake Wigeon. Before masking everything off to do the airbrush painting, just wanted to talk about the base colors here. The face is basically 80% white gesso with about 10% raw umber and 10% raw sienna to give you that buff color. The eye patch is a combination of carbon black and phthalo green, just to give it a subtle but very deep dark greenish tint to the black. And then the crown base is 80% warm white, 15% white gesso, and about a 5% touch of yellow oxide to give it that cream color. I've used this scrubber. This is a 1/8 inch Royal Crafter's Choice scrubber, 9160 brush, to scrub along the junction lines between dark and light and soften those lines a bit before we start the airbrush process. All right, I'll get this masked off and then let you see that before we start the airbrushing. A little tip on masking: I use grocery bags that we get for free, and poke a hole in that. Put the decoy inside and bring the head through. And then I'll use masking tape to cover up the rest of it. It's a good quick way to mask off your entire decoy. All right, I have the decoy masked and ready for airbrushing. Just another note on the bag: it's quick, but make sure there are no pinholes in the bag. You can cover that with a piece of tape if you find one. And then I'm going to use the airbrush to build up the iridescent look in the eye stripe. And I'm going to actually use 4 different colors. I'm going to start with just phthalo green, not an iridescent color, but lay a little bit of a darker green baseline here. I'm going to follow that up with a thin coat of green interference. This is chroma. Then I'm going to hit it just lightly, just at the highlight area, with yellow-green interference. This is chroma. So just in the very middle. And then as a final touch, I'll use violet interference chroma and just put a little hint of some purple behind the eye. So Since this Josanya Phthalo Green is not an airbrush color, I'm going to mix it offline in a separate cup rather than in the paint cup of the airbrush, just to make sure I have the consistency right before I put it in the airbrush itself. If you mix in the cup, you can do that, but sometimes it can junk up your airbrush. Okay, I'm going to hit this lightly. Both sides. And let that dry and hit it again. You can see here that phthalo green has not changed the appearance substantially. It's still a very dark color, but up close you can see just a hint of a dark green, and that's what I want. Now we'll move on to the first iridescent color. This is the chroma green interference. Just starting to get that shine, iridescent shine, again leaving the dark around the eye and on the back of the head. Do that again over here. Doesn't take much. I'm going to let that dry, come back and hit it again. Now the chroma yellow-green interference. I just want to highlight the center area. Just like that. This is the chroma violet interference. I'm just going to a little touch, make sure I have control behind the eye. Same on this side. Just like that, not much. Now I've removed the masking and you can see the iridescence here and here. And by leaving the back dark and the front dark towards the eye, it just conveys further that iridescent shine that you see. Flip it around to the other side. You can see that as well. And this is a good underlay for the detail that now will apply over that. Using some chroma chestnut and a little bit of the base color of the face to lighten that, and a number 4 detail brush. I'm going to start laying in the face ticks. And I go back and forth in kind of V shapes as we're headed back towards the rear of the head, in groupings of 2, 3, 4, and then change directions, go a different way. And I'm going to take a series of short videos as I go through this face ticking process so you can see the progress rapidly. As I move back on the head, these markings on a Wigeon Drake get a little more pronounced. So I'm starting to make groupings of 2 or 3 together rather than the small individual ticks. Now I've flipped the decoy so that I can start making these markings in the opposite direction. And you can see I'm just making a little series of 3 and 4 markings together So they become more like little patches as opposed to the individual marks that were up here in the front. So small arched patches of the color. Under the cheek and down into the neck, the flow lines are kind of pulling back this way, and they split right under the chin. Everything goes in this direction, and from that center line to the other side of the head, everything is going to pull away in that direction. So I'm just, again, using the small ticks in this area to then bring that down and tie it into the neckline. Near the back, these flow lines are pulling back and will eventually end up on a center line behind the head. So I'll go ahead and wrap these around. Small tick marks joining the neckline. Tough area to reach under the bill in the chin area, but reverse the decoy and paint in an upside down position like this. Tick marks are very small normally under the chin. Just a quick shot of the first pass face tick on this side. I'll do the same on the other and then come back. Next, I'm going to use the base face color, that buff color, and go in here and begin to pull in some feather structure to soften this transition between the dark and the light. And as I move towards the back, I'm also going to put some feather ticks down in here as this area of the head transitions from the light neck to the dark of the eye stripe. There's often a lot of transitional feather ticking in this area that pulls into the dark from the light neck. So I've pulled those lighter ticks from the base of the neck up into the eye patch, and you can see along the eye patch a little bit of feather structure there, including transitioning up to the crown to begin to soften that line between dark and light. I'm going to do the same thing on the top of the eye patch along the crown using the crown base color and indicating some feather structure here. Again, with the goal of softening that line so it's not a harsh transition. I'm also going to come back with a little bit of the black and pull that in, and then I'll show you the results of that. Using a little carbon black to go along this transition line and add a few feather ticks. And again, the goal is to blend across this area so it looks natural and we don't get a harsh line of transition. In the interest of time for our demo today, I'm going to just continue this offline, and all of these techniques to finish the head are included step by step in the book. I'm going to be pulling flow lines into the eye patch, hitting this iridescence a little more with a brighter color to make it pop. I'm going to add additional light colored feather ticks to the face to create depth. I'm going to put detail on the crown. But again, in the interest of time, we won't cover that today in the video. It's all in the book. Hope you'll check it out.